Hello, all you positive heads out there. It's so good to be back with all you beautiful reflections of the one source consciousness that creates and animates all things. If you're new to this podcast, of course, we are super happy to have you here, and we just ask that you bring an open mind and heart to your listening experience and to be prepared to explore vantage points that I'm convinced will help shift or solidify your current understanding of the ultimate nature of reality in a way that is extremely empowering. Speaking of exploring powerful perspectives, I'm super excited to announce the release of my very first book, The Golden Key: Modern Alchemy to Unlock Infinite Abundance. If you're ready to alchemize the circumstances in your life so that your abundance expands to an entirely new level in 2021, head over to goldenkey.gift to download the audio or ebook as my gift to you by using the code POSITIVEHEAD. All right, all you positive heads, on this week's Powwow episode, I'm very, very excited to have my friend Derek Rydall back here with me on the show once again, sort of as a continuation, or definitely as a continuation of last week's episode. So today we're going to take an even deeper dive into, all the wonderful wisdom that Derek has to share, the law of emergence, abundance mastery. And if you haven't checked out the previous episode, which would be the first part of this discussion from last week, you may want to go back and give it a listen first. Although, it's not fully necessary. It'll be great either way. But that was episode 627 from last Wednesday. So definitely recommend checking that out. But like I said, either way, this is going to be great. And Derek, hello. Welcome back, my friend.
Hey, it's so good to be here, man.
Yeah, definitely. It was so good having you before. And of course, you were on even a year ago as well. And that really stuck out to me. And so, you have a new book coming out, and we decided to bring you back on last week. And the time was a little bit of a time crunch. And I'm like, there's no way I'm letting this guy go without coming back for part 2, because I want to get all the downloads of the wisdom that you have to share. And I got to tell you, for that matter, so about 45 minutes or so into our last conversation, I was, you talked about, if you want to get into a better house or this sort of thing, a lot of what you talked about, of course, was, circulation and abundance. And of course, we'll get more into that today. But it stuck out to me because my mother is really wanting to move, and she certainly has a lot of an amazing energy. Any sort of vibrancy I get definitely comes from her. But there's that other part of, that other shoe where sometimes it's negative and just, it's like she can be so powerful one way, but then it's so self-defeating another, from not fully understanding how all this stuff works and how to have the house emerge. And so I just a little bit ago, about an hour and a half ago, I just decided to share, even though we haven't released the episode part 1 yet, I decided to share it with her. I was like, Mom, you really need to listen to this, to get your house. So she started listening right away, and she's like, this guy is great. You need to have him back on for episode 2. And I was like, I'm about to record that right now. And she goes, well, you tell him your mother really loves him. He's really great. So you are mother approved, my friend.
That is so cool. That's got to be like the testimony at the top of my book or whatever. It's like, Mom approved.
Oh, that'd actually be really good.
There's no better approval.
Yeah, who needs Deepak Chopra or any of these guys if you got my mom? Come on.
Exactly.
So, last week's conversation was absolutely amazing. I'd love to just kind of pick right up. There's so many ways we can go. I know you had talked about the 7 channels of circulation briefly before. Maybe that would be a good place to start, or really anywhere that you want to take this, Derek. I'm along for the ride. I just want to, see what more wisdom is hiding within you.
Absolutely. And I think it's good to do just a quick recap for anybody that is not going to listen to the first part of this. And it doesn't hurt to hear it again. repetition is how we ultimately embody things. But just briefly, the idea is that, we've been conditioned to believe that life is happening to us, that we're victims of circumstances and conditions, and that conditions determine what's possible for us. We look at our balance in our bank account to determine how wealthy we are. We look at our condition of our body to determine how healthy we are. We look at the state of our business to determine how successful we are, et cetera, et cetera. And many of you are probably going, well, of course, how else would you determine it? And that is completely false. That the real truth is that all of these situations I just described, these conditions, are the byproduct of previous thinking. They are an expression of whatever level of acceptance, awareness, allowing up to that point. But they have absolutely no determination over what our real capacity and capability is and our true abundant nature. So what we began to talk about was one of the things was the great reversal, which is that, again, life is not happening to you. It's happening through you. It's coming from you. That because everything that you could ever need to be all that you were created to be is already in you. And this is, by the way, what the great masters all taught, except most people completely misinterpreted it. Buddha called it nirvana, Jesus called it the kingdom of heaven, Lao Tzu called it the Tao. And they all said there is this source and this space and this place within us that when we connect with it, we have access to the same creative power, potential, and abundance that the whole universe creates with. That the way the universe created itself, out of the Big Bang, out of nothing came everything. And so the same thing is true with us. We are designed to create not out of conditions, but out of the nothing, out of this infinite space. You could call it the void of creation, the cosmic womb, whatever you want to call it. It's within us. And what that means is that, again, we don't look to the condition to determine what's possible, what we're capable of. We look within, or as I like to say, we have to learn to no longer lean on resources, but to lean on the source, which is within us. And that's the great reversal. And it is a reversal, and it does take a degree of practice to begin to live that way. It's like in Indiana Jones, where he has to walk out on that invisible bridge. Mm-hmm. And there's no bridge there, and it says there is, but he can't see anything. And it's the leap of faith. It's also called the path of God. And, he waits for the bridge to appear and nothing does. Only when he steps out on it does it begin to appear beneath his feet. So that's what we have. We have to reverse our way of understanding life and realize that whatever's missing is what we're not expressing, what we're not giving, what we're not allowing to flow out of us. So that's the first big piece. The second piece is to understand that abundance or wealth is not material. It's not dollars and cabbages and kings, stocks and bonds, houses and cars. That wealth is spiritual or energetic. Again, the Big Bang, there was seemingly nothing, and then there was everything. What did the everything come from? What created the everything? What was the substance of the everything? If you seem to have no substance and suddenly you have infinite substance, how is that possible? It's possible because it came out of nothing, out of no thing, but the no thing is filled and is vibrant with energy, with consciousness. So again, that's the real substance of all creation. That is that invisible intelligence or energy. Just like a fruit tree, all the fruit on the tree is not the wealth of the tree. And we touched upon this in the last episode. It's the invisible intelligence and mechanism that the tree has for turning that raw soil into the sap, the blossom, the flower, and the fruit. Or like the goose and the golden egg. They get all these golden eggs and think, let's just cut open the goose and get all the gold out of it. And they open the goose and there's nothing in there but goose. It was an invisible process that was turning that into gold. Of course, that's a fairy tale or a parable, but it's a metaphor. It's trying to tell us something. and it's trying to tell us that the source of the gold, the source of the wealth is within us. And so we talked about all of that. And then,
can I add one quick thing here? Because
anytime,
you know,
man,
I love the, you know, giving all the examples from Buddha, from Jesus, from Lao Tzu. You know, another great thinker that said the exact same thing in a way that always sticks with me is Rumi. Rumi said, "You're not a drop in the ocean. You're the entire ocean in a drop."
Right.
And it's like, when you can understand that, it's like, it's the way a hologram works, right? It's like all the information is stored in this little, you know, representation, this fractal of the whole. And when you understand that you're that, now you're operating from a perspective of, hold on here, there's more untapped resource that I have not been, you know, the source, as you put it, right? That I'm not accessing. And that's the beginning of a whole new journey, right?
Exactly. And when you know, what scientists talk about is that after the Big Bang, that, you know, the entire universe was compressed into like the size of, I don't know if it was a nickel or a dime or a golf ball or something, but it was like the entire universe, and all of that inexhaustible power and energy was compressed in like this tiny little ball of matter. And that's kind of that same idea. So the whole ocean in a drop, meaning you don't want to judge based on appearances or the seeming size of it, that just like the whole universe was compressed into that small little speck.
The YO universe, right?
That's right. The universe, exactly. Exactly. A man after my own heart loves to be.
Yes, indeed.
and so it's all there, you know, and it's funny. I just got the image of like, you know, those little what is it? I forget what they're like made out of sponge or something, but they're these tiny little pellets, and you add water and they suddenly expand into these beautiful creatures. It's just the same kind of thing, right? It's the same kind of thing. You add attention, you add consciousness, and you activate this potential. So this is the foundation, is that we've been conditioned that life happens to us. We have to reverse that and realize life happens through us and comes from us. As the poet Robert Browning said, we must release the imprisoned splendor. And the word man in Sanskrit, I know, right? The word man in Sanskrit, MN, actually stands for the dispenser of divine gifts. So there's clues everywhere that we didn't come here to get something. We came here to give, to unleash, to release something, that we are literally individualized expressions of the universe. And the only agenda that life has is to put itself on an ever greater display. And that's what we're here for. And then you look at the Bible when it says things like, you must magnify the Lord and, you know, glorify me. All that is just, you know, kind of old English ways of saying, you have to represent, you get to represent this infinite cosmic power and beauty and abundance as an individual. That's what we're here for. So we reverse all that. And then we understand again that wealth and abundance is invisible. It's spiritual, it's energy. And that, as I spoke about in my previous book, Emergence, that whatever's missing is what you're not giving, therefore, because it's all within us. So then the next logical question is, okay, how do I start giving more? How do I start circulating?
In giving what I don't have, what I perceive myself not to have.
Correct. And this is an interesting one, and there's some pitfalls to it, because I can already hear and have heard many times, well, Derek, you know, I'm already giving so much. I can barely... I'm about to drop, you know, I'm giving to everybody. I'm always, my kids, my family, my husband, my mother, my father, my parents, I'm always giving. I've been giving all my life. When am I going to get mine? Right. So when people hear that you have to give more, some people, especially heart-centered people who are the caretakers and the givers of the world, that rubs them wrong. And here's where now we get into a very important, maybe and hopefully new insight and distinction. And in the 7 gifts that we touched upon last time, The 7 gifts are giving out, and that's your time, talent, and treasure. Giving away, that's all the things you have in your home, your car, your closets, your garage that you don't use, that don't bring you joy. Giving up, those are the internal clutter in your mind, these patterns of gossip, criticism.
Surrender.
Well, no, first giving up is equivalent to giving away, and that in giving away, you're giving away all the stuff you don't really need anymore, that's stuck energy, that's blocking you. In giving up, you're giving away all the internal clutter. So like those those mental and emotional patterns that we love to hate, that we get it, like, gossiping, criticizing, complaining, judging. As you release those patterns, those are stuck energy too. And then we have giving in, which is surrender. And it's a surrender in a way that we maybe haven't fully understood, because we often think of surrender as acquiescing to the condition. And that's not surrender. Real surrender is yielding to that which is trying to emerge. So when the oak is trying to break through the acorn, it creates a tremendous amount of pressure. The shell starts cracking. And if the acorn had self-awareness, it might think, oh my God, my whole life's falling apart, and try to bring somebody in to repair its shell, which is what we do. But instead, instead it has to yield to the oak that is emerging. So and we can go into any of these more in depth. I'm just quickly laying them out. So surrender means allowing or yielding to the larger life, the larger possibility that's trying to break through our current breakdown. So that's giving in. And then we have giving thanks, which is a whole process of embodying a state of gratitude that has no object. So at first we start off, we are grateful for nothing. Then we find something to be grateful for. Then we find a way to become grateful for everything, including the so-called bad stuff. And then eventually we come full circle and we are now grateful for nothing, meaning there is no object of our gratitude. We're a state of gratitude. And that's when the universe starts manifesting more and more experiences that reflect a good reason to be grateful. So it's not that the experience comes and then you're grateful. It's that you're grateful and you get more experiences to be grateful for. And then we get to, and this is the gift that I want to highlight, giving to yourself. So when we are givers and people pleasers and caretakers and helpers, and we grew up being daddy's little helper or mommy's little helper or whatever, it's because we got a message somewhere along the line that it wasn't okay to want what we want. It wasn't okay to ask for what we want. It wasn't okay to want a lot. And, maybe you asked for something from your mom or your dad, and they're like, don't you see how busy I am? Why are you so selfish? Can't you see how tired mommy is? Whatever. And we felt scolded. We felt shamed. We got scared because we got a message that it wasn't okay to want, or to want a lot, or to be needy, or that it was selfish to just think about ourselves and our own needs. And so we decided that, okay, in this world, it's not okay to be selfish. It's not okay to want to do for yourself, take care of yourself, give to yourself. In this world, the way to get what you want or need is to take care of others, is to give to others. Because then you practice. You go, I go and help mommy. I go help daddy. I don't ask for much. I'm a good little boy, good little girl. And lo and behold, they're happier. Lo and behold, they're nicer. I'm still, they don't get rid of me. They don't abandon me. Because on a very primal level, a child feels that if their parents are angry at them, that they're going to abandon them and they're going to die. It's a very primal animal instinct. And so we adapt in whatever way we can to assure we're going to still be there and they're going to still take care of us. So when we grow up, we then keep playing that part, taking care of others, giving to others. And we develop a wonderful heart and a wonderful level of generosity, but it's ultimately at the great expense of our own self-care. And I know many of you listening right now are nodding your head and going, oh my God, has he been reading my journal? And because it's true, and especially you heart-centered, spiritually minded people, you coaches and healers and conscious entrepreneurs. And at a certain point, it doesn't work anymore to always be focusing and giving to others. You start to feel burned out, resentful, overwhelmed. You start to then have to cope with those emotions by other kinds of addictions or compulsive behaviors. You start to work too much, eat too much, whatever too much, and in a way to try to not feel the pain of not really, truly taking care of yourself. So this gift, giving to yourself, is crucial. I found that this alone for a lot of heart-centered people has been the switch that flips everything around. And so what that looks like is you might be in a situation where you're waiting for your partner or spouse or boss to acknowledge you or appreciate you. And maybe you're doing all kinds of things, trying to be the best employee or the best husband or the best wife or whatever, in believing someday they're going to turn around and say, wow, you're great. You're amazing. I love you. I appreciate you. What can I do for you? And that day rarely or never comes. What's missing here, and we talked about this last time in terms of circulation, is there's no circulation here. The circuit is broken. We talked about a breath, that a full breath cycle is you have to breathe in first. You have to fill yourself up. Then you have to give the breath away. And then you have to let new air come back in again. That's a complete cycle. The law of circulation says you can't give what you don't have. You can't keep what you don't give. And you can't sustain what you don't receive. So for many people, heart-centered people, you've been living your life just breathing out. And just before you die, you take a big gasp in, and then you breathe out the rest of the day. And then by the end of the day, you take a big gasp in. So you're always on the verge of just expiring because you're not getting enough air. And with a natural system, you can't really cheat it, right? You can't fake breathing. You have to really have a complete breath circuit or you're going to die. If you just breathe out, you die. If you just breathe in, you die. If you breathe in and breathe out, but don't breathe back in, you die. So with the psychological and mental systems, we can cheat it for a long time. Just giving out and not taking in, just giving to others and not giving to ourselves. But the symptoms of that are these various things I just talked about, and ultimately stagnation in one or more critical areas of your life. So in that situation where you're waiting for somebody to give you something, love, appreciation, validation, approval, or you've been working really, really hard to get that from somebody, what you want to practice in this case is giving it to yourself. And it's very simple, but not always easy. And it sounds like asking a question like, if I truly loved myself, or fill in the blank, appreciated myself, approved of myself, validated, respected myself, how would I treat myself? How would I take care of me? If I really loved, validated, valued, appreciated myself, respected myself, how would I hold myself in the world? How would I show up in this job or this relationship? What would I do? What would I stop doing? What would I do differently? And I invite all of you right now, as you're listening, to become aware of some area where you're waiting or where some quality appears missing, like a relationship, a job, or maybe you're alone and your life you feel lonely and you feel lacking in love. You feel lacking in being really met or seen or supported or celebrated. Whatever it is, just identify one area where a quality that you deeply want appears lacking. And you're either waiting for it, struggling to get it from someone or something, or you've even given up on it and believe, well, I'm just not wired for that. I guess I'll never have that. And as you,
a lot of that goes on, I think, with relationships and things like that. And I feel like that is a pitfall that so many people fall into, and it's sad.
It's huge. It's a pitfall we all fall into on some level. Let's be honest. And
right.
right? We believe that we're going to get into a relationship to get something. And when it comes to relationships, two halves don't make a whole, Halves. When it comes to relationship, two halves, Haves, is what makes whole.
Yes, so, another gold star.
Oh, that's right. The gold stars. That's right. We were in a contest last time trying to come up with new sayings to get gold stars.
Yeah.
That's funny.
You're leading the pack.
All right. That's my first gold star of the day. Ding, ding, ding. So two halves. So it's about being in a state of having. So in this case, you have by giving it to yourself. So you want to identify what's a quality that appears missing, and then just take a moment right now and ask that question. If I fill in the blank myself, if I loved myself totally, if I thought I was the most amazing person in the world versus trying to get somebody else to think that about me, if I really respected myself, how would I treat myself? How would I take care of myself? How would I show up in the world? What would I do? What would I not do? What would I do differently? Ask that right now and just notice what bubbles up. You might get a little flash of a memory when you did something good for yourself and how amazing it felt. Or you might get just a little bit of guidance. It might say something like, it's time to take that yoga class after all, or I need to drink more water. I need to get a massage on a regular basis. I really want to go hiking, or I want to start writing that book. And maybe your other mind goes, oh, well, you don't have the time to do that. You have to take care of your kids. And what is your partner going to think if you're spending all this time alone creating stuff? And now you know you're on to something. When you hear the other voice say, I can't do that. I don't have the time for that. I don't deserve that. What are they going to think about me? Now you know you're on to something. And that is what you need to start giving to yourself. And as you begin practicing that, you're going to activate that quality that's in you. It's not out there. The joy, the love, the approval, the validation, it's not out there in your boss or your spouse or your kids or your parents. It's always been in you. And you just haven't activated it because you thought it was out there. You were projecting it out there. But all of these qualities are in you, and only you can turn them on. So now you start to get filled up. It's kind of like the analogy of the oxygen mask, falling in the airplane, and you want to put it on yourself before you put it on others. So you got to fill yourself up with whatever the quality is. Now you'll start to discover a level of freedom and fulfillment that is independent of circumstances. That is the beginning. That is the taste of what real freedom looks and feels like. But now you have something real to give. Now you go back to that condition, and instead of, again, trying to get that from the other person, you start giving it. So you filled yourself up, and now you start giving it. You start circulating that quality. And then here's what begins to happen. As you really do that, as you really show up and fill out your space with whatever quality you thought was missing, that environment or that relationship will either begin to rise to meet you, or you will be moved into environments and relationships that will. And that's the key. That's how we grow ourselves into the next level and the next level and the next level, versus what we've been conditioned, which is waiting and feeling like we're a victim of circumstances, conditions, how others treat us and think about us. And we're just going to have to struggle and struggle to either improve ourselves or be worthy of it, or just wait for it and it may never come. That's completely the opposite of how life works. We have 100% control to begin activating these qualities and begin circulating these qualities. And the volume and velocity of the energy of these qualities that we begin to circulate equals the level of abundance we will begin to experience in whatever area we're generating and circulating those qualities. And again, this is the great secret, that it has nothing to do with your conditions. So it doesn't matter what the balance of your bank account is. It doesn't matter what the state of your body or your relationship or your business is. All that matters is, what are you activating and circulating now? It's like the wake of a boat. The wake of the boat is the evidence a boat has been there, but the wake is not driving the boat.
Right.
The individual in the boat, the direction they're steering it now, the energy they're activating now, that's what's driving it.
If you want to know, if you want to know what you're going to see tomorrow, look at what you're resonating with today, right?
Exactly. Look at what you're thinking, feeling, and directing towards today. You know, when those words are about to come out of your mouth, you want to ask yourself, do I want this to become my next reality? Mm-hmm. And if you don't say those words.
God, I love that.
Right? So this is the key. So your circumstances are like the wake of the boat. It's just the ripple you've left in creation as you've gone along thinking so far. But it's not driving your future. It's not determining where you're going now. You are, and you can activate and generate any quality you want as much as you want. And as you do that, it must begin to clothe itself in new experiences, new forms, and a greater level of abundance in your life, in every area of your life. So that's a really big piece of these 7 gifts, is that these are 7 channels that you need to start circulating. And we're just touching upon a couple of them, and we can certainly touch upon others. But again, the real liberating message I want people to get about this is that you're not a victim. You're never a victim. You always have the capacity and the opportunity to turn on your divine power plan and start generating whatever qualities appear to be missing. And as you do that, you'll feel better. You'll expand to a higher frequency, a higher level. And you'll even begin to expand to a level where your problems don't exist. I want to just say this one other thing, that this is the other thing. People are often putting a lot of energy into solving their problems. Like, I got a relationship problem or a money problem or a job problem, and they attack the problem and try to solve it. The problem with that is you can't actually solve problems. A problem is an emblem. It's a symbol of a state of consciousness. It's the manifestation of a state of consciousness. And when you try to solve it, you actually become more involved in that state of consciousness at that level. That's why Einstein said you cannot solve a problem at the level of thinking that created it. And so you want to think of it like, and he also said, by the way, later, arrows of hate have been shot in my direction many times, but they no longer harm me because they come from a world that I no longer inhabit.
Wow.
Right. So the problem, think of it like ice at 32 degrees. Was it 32 degrees Celsius or Fahrenheit or 0 degrees Celsius? One of those. It's 0 on one and 32 on another. But
32 Fahrenheit, 0 Celsius, I believe.
Got it. So at 32 and below, you get the precipitation becomes ice. And you cannot solve the problem of ice at that level of temperature. So if you're at 32 or below and you just, blast it with hot water, what's going to happen to all that water? It's going to eventually freeze into more ice. So in order to get out of the ice, to get out of the cold, you have to actually raise your temperature. You have to get to a higher temperature or a higher frequency. Above that frequency or temperature, the ice, you don't solve the problem of ice. The ice dissolves. The ice can't live above that temperature. So this is an analogy for all of your problems. They are an emblem. They are a frozen expression that is a particular level of frequency or consciousness. And so instead of trying to solve it and attack it and basically give it more energy, you have to rise above it. Problems don't dissolve. Can't be solved. They're dissolved as you evolve. And as you start activating these qualities, instead of going, why won't my wife or husband be more loving to me or more appreciative? I'm going to, try to get that from them. Or why won't my boss validate or approve or give me a promotion? If instead we start activating those qualities and bringing that level of energy to the situation, we will rise to a frequency where those problems simply cannot exist. they have to melt just like the ice. And then, like I said, either that individual or that environment will rise to meet us. They'll also come higher and dance with us at that level. Or if they're not willing or able, will be moved. Like my I think we talked on my last example about my waiter job, right?
Yes, we did.
So that was a perfect example. I kept raising
Wonderful
my
example.
Yeah, I kept showing up not as a reaction to my job that I hated, but I began to imagine what was the life I really wanted to live? Who was the person I really wanted to be? And as I began to be that person and bring that energy and circulate those qualities in the job that I hated, I began to love the job. I began to be inspired. I began to be on fire. And I got amazing tips. And I started giving 5-star service in a 3-star restaurant. And I ultimately wrote an article called How I Stopped Waiting and Started Serving. And it was
powerful.
But in that example, I got fired 3 times. And what I finally understood the third time was that as I was raising my frequency and bringing so much more energy to that environment, it didn't fit. It wasn't a match anymore. And so, and that showed up as, the other waiters thinking, who does he think he is? He's making us all look bad. It showed up as one of the managers think I was trying to get their job. So it showed up in all kinds of crazy, kooky ways. But the bottom line message was, I don't fit there when I'm playing at that high level. And eventually I left after the third, firing. And within about a month and a half or so, I got hired doing work I loved, consulting, teaching, performing, being wined and dined in 5-star restaurants instead of having to serve in them. And went from making $50 a day to $1,000 a day. So, but the key is that quantum leap in my abundance did not happen in the month after I was fired. It happened during the months when I was in that job. And instead of feeling bad, being a victim, just trying to be the nice guy, I began to bring these qualities that we're talking about. I began to open these channels of circulation, these 7 gifts, and really generate massive amounts of energy in these different qualities. I strengthened and developed a whole new muscle set. I developed a whole new capacity. Like a light bulb in that coil, I upgraded my coil. And instead of being a 50-watt light bulb, I became a 100-watt or a 200-watt light bulb. And now more of this universal electricity could move through me and more energy could shine. And as a result, I now was a match for a much higher level of play in the world. And that manifested out all those things.
What a fun way for the person out there listening, or I'm sure there's a lot more. There's probably could be hundreds of them listening to this. You're stuck in your job. You've been trying to figure a way out by moving around external circumstances. What Derek has just shared here is the absolute, not only the path that all the power to do it lies within you. What a fun way to play with these concepts. Because a lot of people, they're new to these concepts anyway. They're listening to the show, right? And they're playing with, okay, is Brandon crazy and his guest crazy? Or is this the most brilliant thing ever? I don't know, right? There's definitely some of those listening. And so play with this.
Yes and yes. The answer is yes.
Yes and yes.
We're crazy. And that's true. You got to we're freaks, we're crazy, and all the greatest leaders and innovators and creators
always
have all been crazy freaks. And when it says in the ancient, the Bible, the meek shall inherit the earth. They actually had it was a typo. It is the freak shall inherit the earth.
Oh, that makes so much more sense to me now.
Right? I mean, think about it. Jesus, Buddha, Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr. These people were freaks. They were Mother Teresa. They were complete freaks, and they were radicals, and they were on the edge. Einstein, the scientific community thought Einstein was totally unbalanced, and so we have to let our freak flag fly and embrace our uniqueness.
Absolutely. And this is such a fun way to get that new job. Here's your formula, guys. I mean, you want a new job. You're looking for a way out. Go play with this and see for yourself and, bring that, turn that 25 watt, light bulb of yours in your workplace to 100 and see what happens if you continue at that vibration. You can't help but start seeing reflections of that light you're emanating somehow, some way.
Yes, and and we shared, multiple examples of that, last time, or at least briefly, like the house one, which you're sharing with your mom, and that's how I use the same principles and application to go from living in a small little apartment type, townhouse type place to living in our first dream home with yards and community and beauty all around us and for our child. And I also used it when I wanted to travel the world and I had dreams of doing like a tour and speaking around the world. And I didn't have the first notion how to do it, how to afford it, did the same exact thing. And within a couple months of starting the process, I got what seemed to be a job offer out of the blue to write something for someone in Dubai. And by the time I was done negotiating, I had a first class ticket to Dubai and tickets booked to London and Paris and Italy and all around, and coaching clients and opportunities and speaking up, and an entire tour just emerged where I traveled to Europe for a month, all expenses paid, first class, and made tens of thousands of dollars for the pleasure. So that came out of seeming nothing, but out of this desire, and then out of applying these principles. Instead of waiting for the world to change, instead of waiting for the conditions to change, I became the change I wanted to see in the world, as Gandhi said. So this is the real empowering message. No matter what's going on in your life right now, if you understand and apply these principles and practices, you can and will become the change that you were previously waiting for. No more waiting. This is the ultimate weight loss program, WAIT. And so I think I might have shared that one last time, so I don't know if I get an extra gold star for that. But
you get half a gold star just because I like it, and you get and repetition's important.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and this is what I walk people through in the Abundance Project in the book, and also some of the key things I share with them on the on my podcast of the same name, The Abundance Project. So go order the book at theabundanceprojectbook.com, and then go listen to the podcast while you're waiting for the book to arrive, and listen to these two, and you guys will be set. You'll have the tools and the tips and the strategies to start activating the next level of your life and your wealth starting today.
Yeah, it really is. It's and we've touched on it a few times. It is that repetition. It's so important. I have had someone who asked me that the other day. A lot of times other podcasters are like, you do the show 5 days a week? I mean, and by yourself 4 of the days? Don't you repeat yourself a lot? Or, and I'm like, yes, absolutely. Even if you look at my show title, it's like, helping seekers to maintain an elevated vibration 5 days a week, because it really is retraining, rewiring our brain. I love talking about this stuff because it's the most natural, amazing high ever. I'm literally plugging in and resonating. The way I see it is, this is the way our higher selves are sourced, and this gets into the more sort of spiritual side of things. And I'm curious if you agree. I'm guessing you probably do. This is the way our higher self, the expanded version of ourselves beyond, the physical realm, views things. It sees things from this expanded perspective. And as we align with that higher version of ourself, if you will, then it's coming through you, coming through us, and it's able to sort of navigate with that wisdom and intelligence as it sort of plays the chessboard, if you will, and it has a perspective it can see moves way ahead of what we can. So you stop trying to just move things around externally and move into these principles instead of just constantly dealing with data that's changing, as you talked about before.
Absolutely, yeah. Instead of being humble enough to know that you don't really know how things are supposed to unfold. So you can hold on to the what, you can have the what in your mind, you can absolutely anchor to the what, and then become mentally and emotionally and physically congruent or aligned with the what. But the how it's going to unfold, you don't want to mess with that. You want to understand that the universe has infinite organizing power. And that means that there's not one or two or 10 or 1,000 ways. There's literally infinite ways that your life and your good can unfold in any given moment.
You never run out of time, and that's a big one, is people are like, I missed my chance. I'm like, no, do you understand how abundant that which you emanate from is? It can deliver what you want or what you thought you lost in that partner or job or whatever in 1,000 folds, 1,000 different ways that you have never even thought of. And that took me a long time to get. Always, I've got an idea, chase it. Oh, I've got an idea, chase it. Now I let the ideas flow through me with a healthy sense of detachment. And if something seems to be unfolding really naturally, then that's my indicator to continue down that path. If it's not, then it's fine. And I'm not worried. I'm not worried about people stealing my ideas anymore like I used to be. And it's such a peaceful place to enter into. And it can take a while.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I like to say there are no, your dreams don't have an expiration date on them. If you, lift your hair up on the back and look in the mirror on the back of your neck, there's no stamp that says use by. That in the other level to understand it from an even mystical perspective is that your life, your dream, your ultimate perfect relationship or work or whatever, these are spiritual patterns, what Plato called, I think we talked about this too, the realm of perfect forms, that's a spiritual pattern. So like the pattern of the oak is already in the acorn. If you have that acorn, if that acorn got lost in your pocket and didn't get planted, or that apple seed or whatever, and then, a few years later you find it and you plant it, and you cultivate the right conditions that are congruent with that seed pattern, the law of emergence in the soil can't say to you, I'm sorry, man, you missed your window. You should have planted this a few years ago. It's too late. And, by the way, you also come from a long line of seeds that never really amounted to much. And, no, it can't do that. When you get in line with the principle, it must grow it. And so your work, your dreams, your destiny, your true highest potential, it's spiritual. It's not in time or space. So it doesn't know anything about your age. It doesn't know anything about the clock or the calendar. It only knows its own perfection. And so when you get in touch with it and you bring your life into alignment with it, if the stars have to realign in order for you to fulfill your destiny, it will be so. And this is, by the way, what the biblical line that says, all the years the locusts have eaten shall be restored unto you. It's basically saying all the time you think you wasted or lost, all the missed opportunity, all the mistakes, all of that in a twinkling of an eye can be redeemed and renewed and transformed into the life of your dreams. That's a principle. So, it doesn't matter what you're
taking that in for people. Sorry to interrupt, but just you want to take a moment for people to take that in. How many people out there are listening and have thought, it's too late for me. Unfortunately, even my mother earlier, we talked about, what one of her responses was to me after she talked about how much she loved you was, I wish I'd heard this sooner. And it's like, Mom, in divine timing, there is no time. You are infinitely abundant and always will be. So applying this now, guess what you have in front of you? Eternity. So with this knowledge in whatever now you find yourself, physical or otherwise.
Absolutely. And there's all kinds of ways you can play with this principle. One of the other things is, understanding again that time is relative, it's arbitrary. All the things we think about time are mostly just made up and arbitrary. Just like all the things we think about wealth and money is a story. We made it up. Money is a story, wealth is a story, and you just have to decide what story do you want to believe about it. And so the thing about time is, we think it takes time in order to get something. It's going to take this much time. But the truth is, it's already here now. It's already happening now. And again, another, biblical scripture. And by the way, this is not religious. This is principle. The great philosophies and religions of the world, when you peel away the dogma and the doctrine, they're just principles, universal principles. But there's a statement where Jesus makes at one point and says, they're asking him, when's the harvest going to come, Master? When's the harvest going to come? And he says, it's not going to come. He says, lift up your eyes and behold, the fields are already white unto the harvest. And he says, but there are not enough laborers in the field. And what he's saying is, and he continuously was saying this because they were like, when are we going to go to heaven? He's like, no, there is no such. You're not going to go to heaven. It's already here. He kept
You're missing the point.
Missing the point. Yeah. Heaven is here. It's at hand. It's within you. The fields are ripe, but you got to start picking the fruit. You got to start activating it. And so he was constantly saying, it's here, it's now. You need to learn how to see it and how to activate it and how to be with it. And then it will start to show up in your life. And so the wealth, whatever you guys are struggling with right now, that the thing you need, the wealth, the health, the love, the happiness, don't make the mistake of deciding it has to take a long time, or that it has to be really, really hard, or that it's too late, or that you've missed the boat, all of that. But absolutely, I do say plan your life as if you're doing all the work, but then live your life as if the divine is, so that you are available in every moment for a revelation. You may plan, I'm going to do this and that and this and that, and eventually build my business or my practice or find the love of my life, within 3 months, 6 months, a year. That's fine, because that gets you in action. That gives you some tracks to lay down to actually keep you on course and to develop certain muscles and capacities. That's beautiful and that's wonderful and that's necessary. But at the same time, you want to hold the space that my miracle can happen any moment, any day. I may have planned out 3 to 6 to 9 to 12 months to grow my business or to get the money I need or to get out of bankruptcy or whatever. But what I'm also knowing is that the wealth and the abundance is already here. And it doesn't know anything about the limitations of time and space. And in an instant, it can find a way into my experience if I will but allow it. And or the love of my life is here, or the job of my dreams is here. That's true. I'm not speaking some kind of new age gobbledygook, some kind of pie in the sky, airy fairy. I'm honestly telling you guys a truth principle. And to the extent that you can begin to believe it or align with it, or not even believe it, but begin to act from it.
Explore it. Try it. I always say, try it for yourself. Don't believe me, whatever you do. Just be open enough to explore these concepts, and you see the results. And then you tell me if it's a principle of the universe, if it's like the law of gravity, whether I believe in it or not. If I step off a cliff, it's going to affect me, right?
Exactly, and that's why I call this the Abundance Project. I could have called it the Abundance Experiment too, and that is. When I walk people through step by step, the principles, the foundations, get clear on their vision, their goal, their plan. I really walk you through the whole process, diagnose where there's a broken circuit so you can start creating more circulation. But then we put it all together into a 40-day project, your abundance project, to begin to actually have a practice each day in a way to very specifically experiment with these principles, practice these principles, begin to test and verify these principles for yourself in your life. And so don't believe what I say, but practice and verify for yourself. Although I will say, if what I'm saying resonates with you, if you feel that little tingling of truth, that little sense of something's getting activated in me, then understand that is the truth that you're knowing. As I like to say to people, don't just listen to what I'm saying, listen for what I'm listening to. So that you begin to tap into what I'm hearing even more than what I'm saying.
That's so perfect.
Yeah. And that's what you're feeling. So if you feel that resonance, that little tingling, that little yes, 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 that little glimmer of hope, I encourage you to lean into that feeling. Lean into that little pinprick of hope, that little pinprick of light, that little pinprick of excitement. And as you lean into it, you can even take a moment right now and breathe into it and put your attention on it and feel that little joy or that little bubbling up of excitement. And as you witness it, it will start to get stronger. It will start to expand. And I would even invite you, if as you're feeling that every day or throughout the day, just stop for a moment here and there and recall that good feeling. Because as you do that, it's going to get anchored in you. It's literally going to create a new neural pathway that will start firing off on its own until eventually this feeling of hope, this feeling of possibility, this feeling of excitement will become like a permanent soundtrack playing in the background of your life. And when that occurs, you now are living at a new level, a new vibration, and be on the lookout because it's going to begin to bear fruit. It's going to begin to manifest something new and more in your life.
Yeah, that's absolutely beautiful. And it's amazing to me how quickly time flies. Each time I'm talking to you, I can't believe we're almost at an hour right now. It's
Are you kidding? Whoa.
It's 58 minutes or so in right now. And it's,
I can't even believe it.
You know, well, now seems like a good moment to take a quick minute to tell those of you who aren't familiar a bit about our sponsor, Gaia. I've been a big fan of Gaia for many years now, which is why they're the only content provider I've ever reached out to in regards to potentially supporting this podcast. So needless to say, I'm very excited they're now supporting the show. Gaia truly is my personal go-to source for streaming consciousness content on the web. They have an incredible 7,000 plus exclusive videos covering 5,000 years of wisdom. Just to give you an example, on the show Missing Links, the incredible researcher Greg Braden explores all the biggest questions concerning who we are, where we come from, where we're going, by connecting the missing links between science and spirituality to complete our understanding of humanity's history and to better understand the interconnectedness of all things. Awesome, right? And that's just one example. As you guys constantly hear me say, it's a daily conscious effort to maintain an elevated vibration. And if you're looking to go deep down the rabbit hole to do so, then Gaia is the best place I know of to do it, period. And you can sign up for your first month for only 99 cents at gaia.com/positivehead. That's spelled GAIA.com/positivehead. Check it out. It really is such a powerful, This is some of the most powerful information I feel like people can listen to what you're listening to, what we're listening to. That's such a great way to put it. As someone who does a lot of talking about this stuff, it's like, yeah, you know, go to the source that I'm going to, and yes. I'm just sort of like a reflection of that when I'm tuning into it, when you're tuning into it, and we all have that exact same access if we choose to. And so I want to encourage you guys to go over and and I mentioned this before, if you go to positivehead.com/abundance, you definitely want to get signed up for Derek's has some very generous free offerings there that you can get signed up for, and an in-depth guide videos. And, and then as we talked about before, if then, you've listened to these shows, you've checked out all the free stuff he's offering there at positivehead.com/abundance, then, you have the option to go into the deeper dive, right? With the 40-day program. You want to explain a little bit about how that works for anyone who may end up there?
Well, yeah, I mean, if they go to the link you just gave them, they're going to get one of my really powerful guides called the 5 Hypnotic Wealth Spells. And that's going to really break down these core hypnotic spells, these that we're under, where we're seeing things that aren't there, obstacles that aren't there, and we're not seeing the opportunities that are there because we're hypnotized. So that's going to show you and help you diagnose where are you hypnotized around wealth and abundance and how to begin snapping out of that. And that will also give you access to some deep dive video trainings as well on some of these core principles of what I call the awakened wealth principles in here, or the abundance principle. And if you also want to get the book, which is a very, very powerful companion to it, the book we've been talking about, The Abundance Project, you can get that at theabundanceprojectbook.com. And that will also come with other bonuses where you'll get some coaching and support around your specific abundance project, because it's really important to me that this doesn't just become more information to you, that you just get inspired for a moment, get high for a moment, and then fall back on your old patterns. Or as I like to say, it's not shelf help, but it's self-help. I don't want you just to put the book on the shelf and walk by and point to the book and say, wow, look at how beautiful my shelf is. I want you to actually get the results. Knowledge is not power. Knowledge that has been acted on and activated, that's now power. So we've designed some bonuses, including coaching with me and a mastermind with the community, so that you can work on your abundance project and make this the most abundant year of your life. I'm committed to that, not just because I want you to have more money and more opportunity. Of course, I want you to have all of that, but because I truly believe that most of our conflict and our suffering is directly connected to our disconnection from our real source of power. And that source is within you, as we've been talking about. When you're more connected to that source, when more of us are connected to that source and leaning on and living from that source, instead of leaning on the resources of the world, conflict, competition, fear, all of that starts to fall away, because we're no longer going to be striving, struggling, fighting, and killing to get somebody else's good, because we know we're the source of it. And we're no longer going to be coping, defending, protecting, controlling what we have, afraid that somebody else is going to take it away, because nobody can take it away. We are the source of it. So
that's so important.
This is a much bigger mission and movement than just having more money. It's not just about having more possessions. It's about finally having total possession of yourself, and no longer selling off your power piece by piece to the world to get a little bit of safety and security. We're not going to play that game anymore. We're going to up level and play a bigger game of empowered, conscious, cosmic, abundant leaders that are here to make an impact, to make an awesome income, and to live the life that we truly desire and deeply deserve.
Well, you are certainly embodying all of this, and I cannot thank you enough, Derek, for taking the time to come on and share multiple times now on the show. And I hope to do it again and just make you a regular, because, you know, as we've talked about, repetition, new information comes out, new energy each time we connect. We hear you. Every time you talk about it, you're getting something new from it, right?
Absolutely.
It's so powerful for people to understand. And so once again, guys, if you head over to positivehead.com/abundance, you get the free, in-depth guide video, the 5 hypnotic wealth spells, and that will link you into everything else, even more beyond that if you so choose to go down that road. But we definitely want to make sure you get all the free goodies that Derek has been so, gracious enough to offer all the P-heads out there. So, Derek, anything...
They can also check out the podcast by the same name.
Yes.
The Abundance Project podcast, or the Emergence podcast, which also has dozens of trainings on it, so that they can, just begin to learn and master these principles from many different angles.
Love it. Eric, anything before we sign off here that you'd like to leave the listeners with?
I would just like to leave you with something, we really are in a new age that's emerging now. And we are in the age of a whole new level of personal empowerment, where we're no longer looking to the world, to the external structures, governments, et cetera, even to the economies. I mean, with the whole cryptocurrency thing, that's showing us there's something trying to emerge, a truly free world where we are free to have the resources, the capacities without constraints. And it's unfolding, but we have to consciously participate in it by beginning to step into our own power, be a stand for our own freedom. And so what I invite you guys to do, if you do nothing else, is ask yourself this question every day. If it was true that I had everything I could ever want, hope for, or desire within me, how would I begin to show up in my life today? What would I begin to do, stop doing, do differently? How would I show up if I really knew and believed I had everything I needed to be all I was created to be? And really contemplate that, journal about that, and then take some kind of action on that today. Remember, knowledge is not power. Only knowledge that has been acted on and activated, that becomes power. And the only limitation is your imagination and your willingness to take bold action now. So I invite you to do that. I can't wait to connect with you guys more personally. And I just so deeply appreciate you all. And I appreciate you, man, for having me back. And I look forward to more.
Absolutely. And thank you, my friend, for being the embodiment of that power. You truly are a sorcerer. You are channeling source and wielding magic.
I'm a sorcerer. SOURC.
Yes, I get the last gold star, Derek. It's my show, darn it. No, just kidding. You're amazing, and thank you again. And I look forward to next time, my friend.
Likewise. Take care, everyone.
Journey well. Also, before we sign off, I wanted to remind you to download the Golden Key audio or ebook as my free gift to you at goldenkey.gift using the Golden Key code POSITIVEHEAD. And please, if you enjoy my gift, leave a positive review on Amazon so others can find the book and unlock their lives with the help of the Golden Key as well.